Hello, everyone. Today it is Valdo Guide Day. I'm going to really quickly run over all the basics that I think are important to know for Valdos, even though I assume most of you would already know them. And then I am going to go into explaining the build that I am going to use to rush Valdos, hopefully week one. Obviously, it depends on the prices. It depends on how my league start goes. You never know. A plane might run me over while I'm in the gym. Stuff can happen, but the goal is to get this up and running by week one. Okay, so let's first go over what a Valdo map is. A Valdo map is a T17 map or tier 17 map you get from unboxing a Valdo's puzzle box. As you can see, it says it contains a mysterious map with a foil unique reward. When we open it, we'll see at the top there is a foiled unique reward. It can be almost any unique in the game, if not any unique. I think there's a Valdo map for almost every unique now, ranging from terrible tier 5 uniques and up to Mage Blood and the best uniques in the game. These maps come with a set of unique modifiers not normally found on other maps that increase the difficulty based on the maps that are, or the mods that are on the map. For example, as you see here, this map has Area Contains the Feared, which is probably the most dangerous boss encounter you can encounter in the Valdos. It has Players Cannot Evade, so if you have any evasion as your main defense, you will not be able to use it. And it gives the monsters 6 frenzy charges, which gives them 24% more damage, more action speed, whatever. I don't even really remember what frenzy charges do at this point. But they get them, right? So there are maps that people sell for a good amount cheaper than what the unique they give as a reward for, because they are hard to complete. In Valdo maps, there's kind of two subsections of how people make money. There are voided Valdo maps, which sent your character to the void, meaning it's poofed, it's gone, right? You will not be able to access that character anymore. And then there's also what I like to call DPS check Valdos. Those are the maps that have an obnoxious amount of reduced damage modifiers. They have let players deal less damage per item equipped, so often you're required to remove one of your items. And they also have players are delirious, so you do another 80% reduced damage. So with these two modifiers mixed together, you're doing 96% less damage. Then sometimes they add in Union of Souls, which means every time you kill a normal or magic pack, the other normal or magic monsters gain increased health. And then sometimes they even add a time limit. These maps sometimes get so crazy that you need just like 4 billion raw DPS, or like, I don't know, but exactly 4 billion, but billions of raw DPS to even complete them, right? The path I'm going to opt towards is the voided Valdos. I'm going to make my character extremely tanky, not really worry about defenses. Obviously, we want enough defenses, or offenses, sorry. We want enough offenses that the maps don't take ages, and it's still the amount of time it takes me to complete the map makes sense for the profit margin I'm getting, right? You don't want to spend an hour in a 5 divine map and just say, oh, I completed the Valdo map. If it's a 5 divine map, you want to spend, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes at most, normally around 5. But that's what I'm going to opt to. So now I'm going to go to the Gladiator build that I plan to use to rush into week one. And I'm going to explain it and why I think it's the most optimal build to rush with. Real quickly, I want to show myself doing a quad Ghosted Feared with the Synthate having Embezzler's Grip. Now, I am missing a lot of defenses. I actually do have it notepadded down here. As you can see, Embezzler's Grip right there. Oh, let me mute myself. So you see Embezzler's is spawning. And these are the defenses I'm missing. Now, why am I missing these defenses? To be honest, I'm not the fastest leveler, and I did not want to level a Gladiator all the way to level 98 and spend all that time doing that just to test, 5 feared maps. So I put it on an Ascendant. So I'm missing Energy Shield, as you can see. I'm missing full crit immunity. I'm missing Lucky Block. I'm missing my Enfeeble. I'm missing around 20,000 armor. I'm missing Pantheons, and I'm missing Leech. I'm missing Leech because I didn't notice this was a petrified on hit map, and I didn't want to buy another map, to be honest. So I just said, you know what? Let's just do this map and let's test it out. So I can't even Leech. And as you can see, I'm standing here tanking quad ghosted feared with all these defenses missing. So as you can guess, Gladiator will just do this way easier. You can see the Aziri somewhere around here. Here's Synthate, here's Shaper, and there's Shaper slamming. I don't know, maybe I'm slightly outside of Elder range, but either way, you get the idea. So I just wanted to show this really quickly to show the power of the build. Although I would not recommend doing quad ghosted feared right away, as it's a lot of risk, and as you can see, I still died. I'm not exactly sure if I died due to a crit. At first I thought I died to double flame blast, but when I paused the video, you can see that I blocked the double flame blast, or I take one of them, and then Shaper slam. You can see him coming up here. Sorry for the terrible bit rate, and then slamming me, and I die. So I think that's due to crit immunity or not having crit immunity, as that slam's not blockable, and I took him multiple times before. Either way, either don't do quad ghosted right away, or be willing to risk your character but play it really safe and drag them away one by one. So let's get into the path of building now. Real quickly, I feel like I should explain why Gladiator instead of Trickster, as Trickster is the most commonly used class to farm Valdos. I do believe Trickster will still beat out Glad in the late game, especially now that they added, or now that we got the leak of the Esh bloodline. There is a bloodline that says if you have two certain graphs, you take 15% reduced fizz damage and reduced fire damage. So I think Purity of Fire, Sublime Vision, Valdo farmers will be by far the tankiest this league, especially now that they removed that Ziri from the feared rotation. So you have nothing that will pen your fire in the feared rotation, to my knowledge. So easily, these will be the tankiest builds, and that is probably what I will swap to later on. But my goal is to get into Valdos as soon as possible for as cheap as possible, and something that's attainable around day one for multiple reasons. One, I don't feel like doing Sanctum for longer than a week. I enjoy Valdo mapping way more, and the margins are honestly better if you get there earlier, as less people are buying the maps, less people are doing them, and people are just willing to sell their maps for cheaper, right? So I think Gladiator with its block, I think with having 88 and 90 block is more useful than, let's say, a Trickster on equivalent investment. I'll go over the investment so you get to see, but I think a Trickster on equivalent investment will have at most 20 to 22k ES, right? But you will have no armor. So Exile, Einhard the Exile Hunter will still kill you completely. You'll have no block, right? And I just feel like Gladiator is better. I think block is a better defense early, and with recover on block from your Aegis, I just think it makes you tankier, especially for the feared, which you don't even really need to be that tanky at all, right? So that's why Gladiator. Although I mentioned it a little bit before, let's just go over the defensive layers this build gets, and just looking at the POB to show you guys that it's not padded. I mean, you can look at it yourself. I'm even accounting for the nurse spell suppression, so I'm making myself take 20% more spell damage, as you can see. I have my two Pantheons, no Sigil Power stages in Sand Stance. We do have permanent Frenzy and Endurance charges if we're hitting something. Only one nearby enemy. I did not make it 8. Have you been hit recently? You will have been hit recently, because even if you block a hit, it still counts as being hit. And have you blocked recently, just to give us the lucky block. Nothing else is ticked, as you can see. Time spent stationary, I have set to 5. Just for Nature's Patience, because we do run it in the tattoo setup. In the non-tattoo setup, you don't run it. But as you can see, your max hits are still really respectable. The defensive layers. We have first our energy shield pool of 15,000. Not the craziest amount, but you know, it's still good. It does the job, especially for regular feared. Regular feared, I don't even think we'll be able to get through that. Next, we have 90 all elemental reses and CI, like most normal builds. We then have 88 block chance and 90% spell block. We are 100% spell suppressed. We have 75,000 armor. This helps us with our Aegis Aurora, meaning every time we block, which as you can see is majority of hits, we are recovering around 1500 ES, right? So that's instant recovery that bypasses embezzlers. As it's not over a time period, you get it instantly, right? We do have leech, as you can see, 4.5k. Some of it's instant leech. We have what else? Oh, we have a guard skill. I don't have it ticked. Cast when damage taken molten shell. Sometimes this will be on, sometimes it won't be. We also have enfeeble. This enfeeble, as you can see right here, you can see the enfeeble is a 21 skill duration. So every 21 seconds, I'm sure every 21 seconds you can press enfeeble. Realistically, you can't enfeeble every boss. So you either enfeeble the most dangerous boss that has the highest chance of killing you, or try and get as many bosses in it as you can. We also have complete ailment immunity, complete stun avoidance, and we take 100% reduced damage from critical strike. So we are crit immune. Beyond that, nothing is really coming to the top of my head. Oh yeah, and we have the normal stuff on your items, like less damage taken for unique enemies in your area, and you know, sigil of power, whatnot, whatnot. But that's basically it. Nature's Patience I already mentioned for all the defensive layers this build offers. Real quickly, let's go over the skills and the items, and then we'll go over the tree. Damage skill, Molten Strike, pretty pretty normal. We're just full lightning damage, nothing special. Running only one Awakened Gem. Like I mentioned, I want to get into all those as soon as possible. So if Awakened Multi Strike and Awakened GMP are going to delay that, I just don't even want to bother with them. This damage is not accurate, as with Multi Strike, you have to count it like twice, and it's, count the amount of balls hitting, and I don't know how many are hitting. Either way, this is our damage skill. Then we have Flesh and Stone for 20% less damage taken from enemies. We have our Leap Slam. The reason we run Leap Slam instead of Shield Charge is because it doesn't drop our Grasping Vine stack, so we can keep our less damage taken up the entire time, even while moving. Frostblink will drop it, but that's kind of like Frostblink is used in like oh shit scenarios. You see three slams coming at you at the same time and you're really in a bad spot. Then you frost blink, then you move away. Maybe even log if you have to. It's always worth losing the map rather than losing your character. Although if you're doing a map that potentially can risk your character, maybe you're doing too hard of maps. Here we have more duration linked with Vol Smite. Vol Smite just a little bit of extra flat every time you can press it. It's not much, to be honest with you, but it's something. So why not add that little more damage? Sigil Power is extra added lightning damage, and it is less damage when we're at max stages, right? Although I don't know how often you'll be able to get max stages, as when you're running your Tincture and your Molten Strike barely costs mana, it's kind of hard. But still, it's some damage. And then we have Enfeeble, like I mentioned before, it's a 21-second cooldown. I don't have it ticked, but as you can see, it is about a 24% max hit increase. Then for our auras, as you'll see on the tree, we are running Iron Reflexes. So we convert all our evasion into armor. So we are technically evasion stacking, converting it into armor. And that armor is number one, giving us fizz reduction. And number two, it's making our Aegis recover 1500 ES on block, like I previously mentioned. Discipline, everybody runs discipline. It's a normal aura to run. It's giving you about 1500 ES. Can't really go wrong with it, as we have a decent amount of aura effect. Sniper's Mark for just more damage, inspiration, reduced mana cost, and mark on hit, so we don't have to press extra buttons. And we saw before, cast when damage taken molten shell. Technically, you have one gem socket open here, so you could fit another skill in there. I'm not really sure as to what you'd want in there, but you could if you want to. Now the items. Like I mentioned previously, I want to get into Valdos as soon as possible, meaning keeping the cost down. Am I able to make this build tankier and better for more cost? Yes, I can, but that's not the goal. The goal is to get there as soon as possible. As soon as you get into Valdos, you're probably making good enough money where the upgrades start flying in right away, right? So nothing here is double corrupted. Nothing here should be too outside of the norm. Nothing's mirror crafted, nothing like that. So EE, RT, corruption, just single RT corruption, not RT fortified, not any influences, just EE, RT. Should not be that expensive, right? Next, we have our Aegis Aurora. Just the good shield kind of ties this build together. It gets us to LE res, max LE 90 LE res with melding. It gets us some crit reduction, and it's our recover on block of around 1500. Just great shield overall. Then we have our helmet. Honestly, the helmet is probably going to be the hardest rare piece to craft, as you have to get RMR on there, int, and then this lightning res is so low it's crafted on. I just typed it in, so it's not showing that it's crafted, right? But you can craft up to 35 lightning res, I think, so don't worry about that. It's not a 6 mod item. And then we have 12% fizz damage taken as chaos when Pinnacle Atlas boss. Even if you get unique boss or you just get fizz damage taken as chaos, keep that. Reduce mana of attacks. Nothing too special. Again, only 20 qual. All the rares are only 20 qual, so it shouldn't be that expensive. Regular ES stacking, percentage attribute chest with reduced less damage taken and increased aura effect. That increased aura effect, 14%, is actually quite useful. It's getting us around like 10,000 armor or something like that, which again is more recovery on block, more fizz damage reduction. So it's not the worst. I didn't know of anything that could be better, as I don't want lightning res on here. And I don't think +2 max reses is worth dropping the 10,000 armor for, as where you can get res capped, as you can see, without it. 1100 ES chest, really easy. Here on the gloves, we do have to take a spell suppress implicit. Although it's not great to have to take that, we are literally out of dex nodes everywhere on the tree to be able to suppress tattoo. So you got to do what you got to do, right? And I'm pretty tight on points. I don't have any extra points to be able to throw around to get more suppress. Besides that, triple ES, or I think this is I don't even know. Is this triple ES? I think this is double ES. Either way, you get the idea. To be honest, I pulled the skeleton and the items from POE Ninja. It's like from week 1 of Mercenaries by some Far Soul Star guy. Credit to him for having the build there. He was the only one I noticed doing it. Now, obviously, I did adjust the build a lot and put my own spin on it, and I do think I made it better, but this is why sometimes I'm not exactly 100% sure on what the items are showing here. Here we have a endurance charge, Relikesh, Impatience. We have 7 endurance charges, another defensive layer I forgot to mention. So we just always want this up. And if we're fighting ghosted mods, sometimes they can steal charges. So this always keeps your charges up, right? This is a increased attributes, global defenses, Eyes of the Great Wolf. I don't believe this will be too expensive, as I don't think many other builds would run this. They either beeline to simplex, or they have like some damage amulet or some unique amulet. I don't really see many builds using this. It's pretty good. It actually gives me more ES than a Shaper Elder simplex in stacking simplex, right? And it's obviously going to be much cheaper. So we allocate Whispers of Doom, or anoint Whispers of Doom, just so we can put Enfeeble and our mark on the same enemy, right? This is a double positive helical ring, not triple positive, not quad positive, literally only double positive. I mean, you can buy an unsplit ring, split it, and then mirror 2 times and see if you hit. And if you don't, you'll have 4 mirrored rings. You get 1 more mirrored copy that someone messed up, 5 to 1, and go again, right? So it shouldn't be too hard to craft this at all. Then we have a Calandra's Touch here. Honestly, you probably would want to go Nimbus. Oh, excuse me. You'd probably want to go Nimbus for the damage increase, and then drop Returning Proj and get another damage link. The reason I don't is because, first off, I'm not exactly sure on how bad our damage would be for regular feared and non-less damage maps, as we do see that one of the Esches graphs gives you Lucky Lightning, and then between everything else, you should have a decent amount of damage to do it pretty quick. Also, we're glad, right? So this node is not being taken into account, but we do deal more damage for every second a unique enemy has been in our presence. So if we are fighting the feared for a minute, which is not unrealistic, right? We'll be doing 60% more damage at that point. So over the entire fight, we're doing 30% more damage on average. So, you know, well, I'll have to see. And then if it just feels too bad, you just drop in a Nimbus, right? You do lose some defenses, but it's still fine. Next, we have a Mage Blood. Obviously, I don't know of any good Void farmers that don't run Mage Blood. If you know them, please let me know, because that means I can probably get in there faster and save myself the money. But yeah, Mage Blood, obviously, for our Armor Flask, Evasion Flask, the normal stuff. And then we have a Tincture. I don't think I need to go over this. Our Forbidden Flesh and Flame combo is Masterful Form. Reason being is Frenzy charges give us max endurance charges. This also gives us +1 max frenzy, which is max endurance. And there's just a lot more frenzy charges available to us on this side of the tree, as opposed to endurance charges, right? If you want, you would be able to drop Masterful Form. You would go Fortitude instead, and then you drop your Relicash for rare ES boots, which honestly could be a decent idea. You'd have to get CB immunity somewhere, but it's not a bad idea to do. I might uh, test it out on the build and see how it looks. But currently, we're just going Masterful Form. Um, Next, we have our Nature's Affinity, our Natural Affinity, small cluster for Nature's Patience. Should be really cheap, not even corrupted anything, just for 10% less damage and 20% double damage chance. Then we go our large cluster. This is a Riot Queller, the large cluster. Riot Queller has a 38 weighting as a notable. So to be honest, you probably just have to Chaos Spam or Harvest Reforge. So you get Riot Queller on there and then try and hit the 1 in 4 Fracture if you want to craft this out. Not necessarily a super cheap cluster to make, but not also as expensive as the Ink clusters, which we do have 2 of. Next, Storm Shroud, self-explanatory, Ailment Immune. Um, Now we have our Int clusters. You do not need a triple tier 1. You can settle, honestly, early. As long as you have a fracture, right? You can settle on what you get. It's not going to be that much ES loss. Even if this is triple tier 2, I'm sure at most you'd only lose like maybe 500-600 ES. Maybe a little more, but you know, it's not going to be the end of the world if you want to settle. Then we have our rare jewels. I made sure all of these are 3 mod rare jewels, as I'm not sure how easy it would be to find like super hyper specific 4 mod rare jewels at day 5 or day 6 into the league. So if you find a rare jewel that has this and then has 1 extra useful mods, congrats, your build's already better than the POB. But these are all 3 passive rare jewels, right? Then we have our melding for max res, self-explanatory. I took a Rune Binder Impossible Escape. The reason being is this gets me +3 max spell block chance, gets me some more recover on ES. Recover ES on block, and it gets me to spell block cap, as this is the last little spell block I need. Then it also allows me to take Sovereignty and then drop the Anoint for Charisma, which gives me enough unreserved mana to then be able to anoint Whispers of Doom and fit Enfeeble in there, like I mentioned previously. Our Watcher's Eye is a Grace D term, crit reduction, suppress, Watcher's Eye. Now, you will need a perfectly divined Grace spell suppress. As you can see, we're just dead even on the spell suppress here. If you want, you could just take what you get, and even if worst case, the D-term minerals, it only costs you 2 more int tattoos, which is 20 int to get capped capped crit reduction, right? So just make sure that this is perfect rolled, or you somehow get your last spell suppression if it's not. Light of Meaning, just a good jewel. We take a lot of passives here. This is getting us like 1500 ES. The most worth it we can get for 1 jewel socket. And then our last 3 mod jewel. We are taking block chance on this one instead of int, number 1, because I wanted it to stay a 3 mod jewel, like I mentioned, and because overcap block chance gives us 2 spell suppress, 2 spell block chance, right? So this just gets us block capped. So that's about it for the items and the skills. And then next we will just go over the skill tree and my decisions in pathing. All right, last but not least is going to be the tree. As you can see, I am only level 98. I decided to do that instead of doing a level 100 character. Number one is because this is most likely going to be most people's second character, and you would have to sit in 5 ways to level, right? And to sit in 5 ways and level from level 98 to 100 is like as many 5 ways as it took you to go from level 60 to level 98, probably even more, right? I just didn't want to do all that, and I'm happy with this level 98 tree. Um, Real quickly for the ascendancy, we do take a bloodline. It's going to be the Oshabi bloodline, as you can see in the config. Just this Oshabi small node for a 2 rage on melee hit. That allowed us to drop the blood scent cluster and take a block cluster, which made it a little bit easier to block cap. And I just didn't think the adrenaline was worth it unless you you had perma adrenaline. And to do that, you'd have to have 5 rage on hit, and this is 5 rage on melee hit. It's not even on hit, so you'd have to path all the way up here. Basically, I just decided it would take too much investment. You have better rage uptime with this anyways, and this one small node gets you spell block capped. So, you know. Okay, so we path starting from the Slayer node, of course, and we go down, grab the jewel socket. Here, if we are not running suppressed tattoos, I guess this tree name is a little misleading. It's not all no tattoos, it's just no suppressed tattoos, as in case they are like 3 divines apiece and maybe unaccessible or inaccessible at that current moment when you're making the character, you can run no tattoos and just path to mage vein. Either way, we path down, we grab a 30 int node. Here we just take leader of the pack and we have a reservation rune graft, as we have 3 50% auras, I think, or was it 2? No, 250 and then 135. We need some RMR, you get the idea. Precise technique, 40% more damage. Um, yeah, end of story. We only have 1 life, so our accuracy is always higher than our life, right? Then we path to the left and we take versatile combatant. This is allowing us to much easier get spell block at the cost of maximum block. If we uncap this, as you can see, we barely, like barely, I'm talking, have any spell block. So it just kind of makes more sense to path versatile combatant. Here we path up to 1 frenzy charge and a jewel socket. I don't think I need to explain everything one by one. Here, more block cluster, iron reflexes, just to get us our armor, like I mentioned before. Our 3 passive clusters. These 3 points are good for Molten Strike as it's reduced proj speed, so your projectiles will be in a tighter radius and you will be more likely to hit all of them. And if we're running return proj, this node where it deals more damage or increased damage, closer they are to the start of the strike, is just good for us, right? Then we path, frenzy, jewel socket. I take these 2 nodes as evasion rating's not bad. And then also we are just missing three fire res, and we only need 1 more maximum cold res. So I thought instead of sacrificing another jewel socket or a jewel suffix, we can just take this, get 90 all res, kappa res, just an efficient use of 2 points, and it allowed us to take another unique jewel. Suppress wheel. I don't think I need to explain anything about that. Here we have the Mark Mastery. One thing you need to know about the Mark Mastery is it is a very flexible mastery here. We can take, if you are not crit immune for some reason, one or the other, you can take marked enemies cannot deal critical strikes. Obviously, you can only mark 1 enemy, but if you're just attacking the enemy that's most likely to kill you, this does help. Then you also have nearby enemies or marked enemies cannot regenerate life. This is good if you're running an interfered with Maven map. Sometimes she does Vitality Boon and just constantly heals the boss to full. And if you have loads of damage, sometimes she out sustains your damage, right? So this allows you to bypass that. We take it for the frenzy charges as we have 7 maximum frenzy charges, so it's just more damage. And this gives us great uptime on it. Instant leech wheel bypasses any stupid like embezzler mods in case you somehow get it, like a random ghost spawns, or if you're doing quad ghosted. This keeps your mana up so you're able to have decent tincture uptime. You know, Jewel Socket, Frenzy Charge. Here, Path to the Spell Suppress, good int node. All of this is in the light of meaning radius, so it is just good for us. This is like the most commonly taken wheel, I feel like, on every ES build. We take this for the armor because, as I mentioned, we're gaining more evasion and then we are getting more armor from that because we converted with Iron Reflexes. Ghost Reaver, we cannot recharge as we're not Trickster, right? So we don't have consistent recharge when we suppress spell damage, and we don't path to Wicked Ward, right? So Gladiator will struggle a little bit more against dots compared to Trickster, in the sense that we're not going to be able to sit like they removed Adziri, right? And they put in Cyrus. Cyrus has a bunch of hit based stuff that will basically always heal you. Cyrus does not do enough damage to kill you, but he does have some degen attacks, meaning you're not going to have recharge going through degen. So you have to be a little bit more mindful of where you stand with Gladiator. Just don't be bad, I guess. CI, of course, Whispers of Doom. And then we have our last block cluster with Nature's Patience. So that's about it. Not much I really need to go over. If I missed anything, I'm sorry, but it's the POBs there, right? Another thing I would like to mention is this is a work in progress, right? If you notice any glaring issues or any improvements, please tell me in the comments below, because if you can help me make this build better, it just makes my experience better when I swap into this, right? But I want people to not misunderstand the idea of this build. It is not the best build I could have made. I made it in a constrained budget, and I wanted to keep it around a reasonable price that I would be able to swap into around week 1. Obviously, I could put in a mirror chest, mirror shield, do an entire swap, put in a Bound by Destiny, start instacking, and have 3,000 int if I had a 10 mirror budget, but I won't, right? So if you notice anything that can be shifted around with the skill tree for more survivability or more damage without the major loss of survivability, anything like that, feel free to comment it below. But please try and keep it within the budget, because there's no point in telling me I can do this, this, and this, and if I had 10 mirrors, because I won't, right? Besides that, thank you for watching the video. I hope you guys don't get voided, and if I baited you and you did get voided, just come to my stream and curse me out. Besides that, have a great league start. Make sure you rush Sanctum, and if you're going to be selling Lycia carries, make sure you charge 10 divines to anybody that's a Fubgun subscriber.